Profit, growth, shareholder value, some of the traditional goals for the senior management of any company. Profit, growth, shareholder value, some of the traditional goals for the senior management of any company. But increasingly, top leadership is also being assessed on its ability to ensure gender diversity at the workplace. Hello and welcome to this very special panel discussion. We come to you from the World Economic Forum in India, and it's such a pleasure to have with us here three lovely and very successful women. Many thanks for being with us. Let me introduce our guests on the show. Priya Hiranandani Vandrevala. She is the co-founder and chairman of Hirco Group. Of course, Gita Gopinath, professor of economics at Harvard University, and Aparajita Gogoi, executive director at the Center for Development and Population Activities. Many thanks all of you for joining us. I know it's a bit cliched for women to sit and talk about gender diversity at the workplace, but despite all the noise around it, the data still, at least in India, points to it being anything but equitable for women. Why do you think so, Priya?
Well, I think, first of all, women need to have 5 rights. The right to be born, and we know about the 100 million missing women in India and China who haven't been born. The right to be educated, the right to have equal work and equal pay for equal work, and the right then to have, after they have children, to have childcare, and then the right to be able to live alone. These are simple rights. They can be, some of them are cultural, some of them are social,
right.
And really the solution will come from both aspects. One, us celebrating and appreciating women and men who endorse and support such rights, and also in legislation which provides childcare, which provides education, and which mandates that. So I think it's, we've done wonderfully well in 60 years, but there's a lot to be done on this aspect.
Gita, you're someone who makes all Indians proud. You've done wonderful work in the area of academics. Academics is an area which is seen traditionally as something that comes naturally to women. Would you agree with that? Are there a lot of myths, perceptions associated with the kind of professions that women really take up?
I mean, I come from an institution which is a research-based institution. So Harvard University is an education institution, but it's also a strongly research-based organization. And actually, the representation of women there is very small. So for instance, in my department, we have about 40 senior faculty, of whom 2 are women.
That's it, 2, okay.
2 women, and
right.
That includes me.
Right.
So it's a very small number of women at that level. Now, when you have the perception that women are more, you observe more women in academia, comes from the kind of the teaching profession, which is the schools and the which are purely teaching jobs.
And is it a more India-based phenomena as well?
No. I think that's true everywhere, even in the U.S. and in any part of the world. If you look at schooling, women do make up a big chunk of the teachers, so it's not one of those underrepresented sectors. But if you go higher up and you start looking at universities and you look at positions that are research-based, that is a steep drop-off. You hardly see any women, especially in economics or in the sciences. You hardly see any women at top academic positions.
Is it the whole work-life balance issue that perhaps prompts more women to take up professions that are a bit easier?
It's true, yes.
And is academics easier is my question also.
Yes, so this again comes down to the dichotomy between whether it's a teaching institution or a research institution.
Right.
So if it's a teaching job, then it's certainly true that you have the flexibility, you get the vacations that the students get, and you get a lot more flexible work day. But if you're in a research institution, which is where I was, you work 24/7 basically. You're doing research all the time. It's publish or perish. And there again, you can see why it's biased against women, because it becomes harder for women to do that, because women at my age are typically married, and if you're married, you're typically married to men who also have serious jobs, and they typically find it hard, to balance, and it becomes very hard to balance family life and work life. So once that happens, once you're in a job that requires a lot of your time, women find it harder because you tend to be married to people who also are in jobs that are very demanding.
And it is
unlike
a reality
men.
we should accept. It's something we shouldn't try and run away from. Aparajita, it is true we keep talking about women's rights, equality at the workplace, gender diversity, but we have to face it. If women do have dual roles in society, we will see a lot of them taking a backseat and ensuring that they can be in professions that give them that extra flexibility. Or do you think those are just stereotypes that are here to change now?
See, I agree that we do talk about and actually practice gender diversity, but I want to take you a little back, 2 steps back. You look at what's happening in Indian society. You may have 4% representation, 10% representation. It doesn't really make a difference if girls and women are not empowered in the true sense of the term. You may have an HR manager who's heading your whatever committee, the gender sensitive committee in the organization, but if he goes back to his house and he expects his wife to do some very gender stereotype roles, if he wants to invest more in his son's education and not in his daughter's education, because he thinks...
Is that still a reality in most of India?
Yes.
It is.
In at least 80% of India, that's still a reality. If you go to rural India, look at cultural practices.
Right.
We talk of women and nutrition. Mothers, bahus in the house eat last and least. That's tradition. Nobody's talking about theories of gender empowerment when that practice is being actually carried out in families like yours and mine.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.